All right, hundreds of migrants now on the verge of pouring over the southern U.S. border as the caravan of asylum seekers arrives.
U.S. officials warning there is no space or resources for America, to accept them. So what happens next? Here to weigh in, President of the National Border Patrol Council and Border Patrol agent Brandon Judd. Brandon, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Now, there are hundreds of people in Mexico just a stone's throw away from the United States trying to get in. It didn't work out for them yesterday, but what is going to happen going forward? Will the U.S. ever process their claims, and if so, when?
Well, first we have to understand they're doing it the wrong way. They should have gone to the American consulate there in their own countries, whether it's Guatemala or Honduras. They should have asked for asylum there so that their claims could have been investigated there in their own countries. And then if they had a legitimate claim, they would have been given the documents that were necessary to come over to the United States. They're making a mockery of our justice system. And what's great is a picture's worth 1,000 words. And the Democrats are actually making the case right now for a border wall, because all of your viewers are looking at these pictures of these people climbing on the fence there in California. That's in the United States. What they're doing is an illegal act, and we've got to stop this. And again, this is fantastic because it's going to go against them, and it's going to work against them in the long run.
Well, when you pull this story with Americans, and not a lot of people think that it's a good idea to just open up that border and just allow a flow of people in. That's not a very popular idea. So the Democrats really have gone pretty far left here. And the big argument is you have these people coming in from Central American countries like El Salvador and Honduras, places where there is a bad situation, but they're not. At least this group, which is much smaller than the group initially started out as, they're not getting their asylum out of Mexico. They're not trying to get it there. They're trying to go for America, the nicer place. And I think that bothers some people.
Well, and it should, because when they're interviewing these people, again, I have to watch all of the different news outlets to see what they're saying and to see what the commentary is, unfortunately. But when you look at a lot of the commentary, a lot of these people are saying, well, I'm not going to stay in Mexico because there's no jobs in Mexico. I want to go to the United States because there's jobs. Well, that's not a legitimate asylum claim.
Right.
Asylum is supposed to be for people that fear for their lives. It's not supposed to be because I want to make my life better economically. If they truly feared for their lives, they're in Mexico, they can stay in Mexico. Mexico is not considered a country that is as dangerous as Honduras or Guatemala. But what they're doing is they're making a mockery of our system.
Now, immigration advocates would say that these are, women, children, and folks that are just seeking safety from gang violence. And they'd also say that by seeking asylum, they're coming here essentially legally. So what would you say to those people?
Well, when they present themselves at the port of entry, that is actually a legal process. But what they're doing is they're forcing the San Ysidro port of entry to slow down its operations. These ports of entries are supposed to generate billions of dollars for the American economy. And when these asylum seekers, quote unquote asylum seekers, go through the ports of entry, they make it more difficult for that port to properly function the way the American public wants it to function. Again, the Democrats are illustrating why illegal immigration was President Trump's #1 domestic policy, and they're going to continue to make it an issue, and they're going to continue to drive Republicans to the polls. Just not a smart strategy.
And just to finish off, a real quick question: is the protocol right now for the feds to stop them before they even claim asylum? Is that where we're at this point? That's what the president has ordered?
Yeah, so what they're doing is right when they come to the ports of entry, they're just saying, look, we cannot take you at this point. And they're just going to cross the border illegally then, and we'll take them into custody.
Right. Well, a very tense situation for a lot of folks down there on our southern border. Thank you, Brandon, so much for being with us today. Thanks. All right, well, the time now is 19 minutes after the hour.